Welcome to the Voice of Retail. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc. This podcast is brought to you in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada. First up, recorded live at the Retail Council of Canada DTLQC conference in Montreal, where he's just coming off the main stage, we meet Manny Kohli, President and CEO of innovative retailer Matt Nat. Recognized as the leader in cruelty-free vegan fashion and lifestyle accessories worldwide, Matt Nat is available in over 100 countries through wholesale, online, and brick-and-mortar locations. We talk about the excitement of launching the first store through to locations recently opened in the U.S., influencer marketing, how celebrities find the brand, building an organic brand organically, and the importance of value-based retailing. Next, recorded live at the RCC Bricks Mortar Forum in Toronto, we check in with the man retailers seek out to help them guide their in-store teams to success, Kevin Graff, President of Graff Retail. Our focus is the very short term for this conversation, what retailers should do today and for the rest of the year to help bring the year home on the sales floor. Lastly, Alan Zander, CEO of Omnovos, joins me recorded live after the Kevin McNabb, CEO of Home Hardware, Leaders in Retail Breakfast, and takes us through the marketplace opportunities that are turning retailers' minds towards the optimal use of data and analytics, and he puts on a masterclass in the use and vision behind harnessing multiple data pieces into a powerful enterprise-level tool. Lastly, I'll hit the highlights from retail this week for the week of December 2nd, but first, let's jump into my interview with Manny from Matt and Nat. Manny, welcome to the Voice of Retail. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great, having a great day so far.
Well, we're here together at Retail Council of Canada's Montreal DTL. You just rolled off the stage. Such an impressive presentation.
Thank you so much. That was a story from the bottom of my heart, all my experience, and like when I came to this country, and how we did it, how we started, and the journey was unbelievable.
Well, thank you for sitting with me and spending some time. So for those who were not able to see you today here in Montreal, let's talk about your professional journey, your personal journey.
We started the brand about 20 years back. Always been veganism and eco-friendly came down the road. But from day one, we were a vegan brand. And like when we was doing shows, to a lot of people when they used to come to the show, they would love our product and they would design. And the material, they want to know, oh, this leather is great. I said, no, this is not leather. This is man-made leather. We are a vegan company. Me and my ex-partner, we both at the time are vegetarian. I become vegan and he became vegan later on. And we explain them, and some people say, I like my leather bag. And they laugh, and some people, they appreciate, oh, wow, that's amazing. You didn't harm any animal to produce this bag, right? So they love the story.
So it really came from your personal convictions that became the retail concept, really. It really articulates your personal beliefs into what is the retail concept.
Correct.
So tell me about the store. Tell for those listeners, I have listeners around the world, tell me about how many stores you have and a little bit more about the assortment.
So to take the brand to a different level, that not because of the revenue, it's more about veganism and eco-friendly and sustainability. So we decided to open our first store in 2016. I remember when I went to see the first location, December 2015 in Carrefour Laval. That's like a 12-minute drive from our office. Our office is in Chapman Street. And when I saw, I said, no, the rent is going to be very high, and I don't know how we're going to do retail. We are, we design our thing, right? But retail is totally different ball game, right? Anyway, we decide to, take 1,000 square feet, small, nothing very big. And it took us about 2 months so we signed the lease, we negotiated, we signed the lease. It took about 2 months to design and construction finish, and we opened the door in March 2016 at 1 p.m. It was unbelievable. We didn't even put it in social media. Like next day we put it on the social media. Hey guys, come check it out, our first store in Montreal, and take a look, and we put a couple of pictures. It was unbelievable response. Wow. And since then, we first store when we do well, then you get itchy when we're going to do second store.
Sure.
The second store we did in Montreal again, this restaurant, 20 minutes from downtown. So this restaurant, why there? Because I believe a lot of youngs, they live, that side of the city, and we did a survey, So we opened second store. That was 1,500 square feet, And then we opened, very successful. It was more for brand awareness than anything. We don't push our stores in social media. And then we went, the third store was in Ontario, in Rideau Centre in Ottawa. Then we have 4 stores now in Toronto. Calgary we opened 5 months ago. 2 months ago we opened in West Edmonton Mall. This is one of the biggest malls in Canada. Sure. And 3 weeks back, we opened our first U.S. store in Valley Mall in Seattle.
Congratulations.
And I was there myself. Thank you.
That's
I was
exciting.
there. Amazing mall. And we have so many people coming. They were passing, Matt and Nat open store. And they know the brand. They said, we have your bags. And they said, wow, we're so happy to see you here.
You've clearly struck a chord, like a pent-up demand, right?
Yeah.
Organically, when people find you like that, that's something, right?
We barely spend any money on marketing. I mean, social media, it's the way to go. You know, we post 1 picture a day about the brand, the style, the design, and that unbelievable recognition of the brand social media. And we are very excited. Next week, Tuesday, we're opening in San Jose, which is, the house of the IT hub, right?
Yeah.
Apple is there, Facebook is there. So we're very excited. Opening our second U.S. store in San Jose, but the third store I'm more excited. We're opening in Soho.
Oh, that's exciting! In New York City, the Big Apple.
Big Apple. Why in Soho? Because a lot of tourists is there.
Yep.
And I think it's going to do really well because we did a survey, and I think it's going to be mind-blowing.
It's also a destination. So it's become a destination for brands to, establish themselves and be a marquee destination, right?
Once you're in Soho, when your brand is there, it's been then recognized as a brand because, we all know the rent in Soho be, quite expensive.
Yes.
But I think the amount of people visit Soho is unbelievable, right?
And it's a marquee location, right? It's a marquee destination.
Yes, definitely.
So when I think about your stores, there seems to be a real vision around the visual layout of the store. So tell me about how you intersect your brand to what those stores look like.
So our first store, when we opened, we took like reclaimed wood. And then that we incorporated at the stores. Behind the cash, just there's a wall.
Yep.
And then the door. Unfortunately, we have to stop the door because the weight of door was like 3,000 pounds.
Oh my goodness!
So the construction, they said, how are we going to bring it in, Manny? That was a big challenge. So we still have the wall, but we're going to have to change the door to a simple door.
Right.
But this is to show that we care about the environment. It's a reclaimed wood and etc. Yep. So that's what we're using. We're using some elements which is our reclaimed.
Let's talk about marketing. You mentioned social media. So you've had lots of famous people who love your brand. Natalie Portman, I saw, is a fan. Is influencer marketing a thing for you? Is that something you purposely do, or is it something that just happens organically for you?
No, really. It's all happened organically. Like today, so many celebrities are turning vegan. And, we all know the luxury vegan brand is Stella McCarthy. But I think after Stella McCarthy, we stand there. We are there because today we just don't have handbags and accessories. We have footwears. We have sunglasses. We have belts. And we just launched this fall. I'm very excited. Outerwears, which is vegan, fake fur, fake wool, and all that. And so excited. So all those celebrity today, they are, they're finding us online or Instagram, and their manager contact us. Hey, it's Natalie Portman is, she has red carpet coming up, and she wants some product. Gladly we send them.
Sure.
And they appreciate it. Sometimes they do post, and and sometimes we regram the post, but so far it's like very underground, very like organically we build a brand.
Yeah. Let's talk about the future. So in your category, we're starting to see things like the rental market or the reuse market. Any thoughts around that in terms of your category, whether it's something that you might want to explore someday, or any thoughts around that from a category perspective?
Definitely. We always all about recycle and etc. It's all in our head now because we want to be 100% sustainability brand.
Right.
So, like I said earlier, that our supplier today, the manufacturer, they are changing and they are creating these kind of product that we can benefit from that.
Yeah.
And not just because it's a recycle, but the look is there. So yeah, definitely we want to adopt that.
And I overheard you're using very interesting materials. This is the last question. Let's talk about that. The interesting materials that go into your products. To hear windshield wipers and other kinds of things.
Yeah, so very excited to share that next fall we're coming up with fabric is made of 100% recycled for the car windshield.
Yeah.
So you remove the glass, whatever is left, they recycle that.
Yeah.
And we're putting 8 style in the collection. Very excited. I think that when we launch there and the marketing will start, it's going to take our brand to a different level.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thanks again for spending time with the Voice of
Pleasure
Retail.
is all mine.
Such a treat to meet you in person, and thanks for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, thank you. Kevin, welcome to the Voice of Retail. How are you doing today?
It's great. It's a little early to be in Toronto this morning, but happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you. You and I go back a long ways. We've worked together. We've had the treat of being on stage with you. But for the benefit of the listeners, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, I run a little company called Graff Retail. It started way back in '88, which makes us really old. Right? That's the one thing I say that makes me feel really old. So we've been doing this for 31 years. We just work with retail chains. So we get hired to do one of 3 things. Teach their sales staff how to sell, teach their store managers how to actually manage their teams and get better productivity out of them, and talk to district managers about how to run a territory. So the offshoots of that are how we do it. We do a lot of online training. I speak at a lot of conferences, and today the reason I'm here is to MC this event for the Retail Council of Canada.
That's right. We're here today at the Retail Council of Canada's Brick and Mortar Forum. Very exciting morning. So speaking of bricks and mortar,
Right.
We're recording this in the heart of the holiday season, which is a marathon, not a race. So it's a little late to be 6 months preparing for holiday. But at this point, middle holiday, what's your advice to retailers to make it through and to be successful at this point in the
Yeah,
month?
and I think you set that up really well. So what do you need to do now? It's too late to do any planning. It's too late to do merchandise assortments. If you haven't figured out your pricing and your markdown strategies, your marketing plan right now, it's really too late for all of that.
Right.
So what do you do now? Now it's about execution. Full stop. The big difference between the retailers that seem to be doing really well out there and the ones that are going to be kind of like the all-surrounds are the ones who can actually execute it. So if you've got a plan, and let's assume that you've got a plan, how well can you get everybody across the organization to put it into place? And so if it's an execution of, the new windows or the markdown campaign or the in-store marketing thing, or the biggest thing that's going to make the difference out there at this stage is, can you actually execute on the brand promise that's supposed to be delivered through the staff in the store? So my advice to them is to go, look, it's not about complication. It's how do you simplify it now? How do you go through the process of clarifying your expectations of the staff? Because if you take a look at what's going to happen in the stores over the next 6 weeks, it's going to be chaos. People are going to run around like chickens with their heads cut off. Yep. Service levels are going to drop. Conversion rates actually drop in retail stores. Average sale might even take a bit of a hit out there. It's how can you add a little bit of sanity to the lives of the people out in the stores and come up with so look at guys, these are their top 5 priorities this week, or maybe it's the top 5 today that we need you to pay attention to, because there's 101 things that are going on. How do I add that clarity to it? And maybe in that process you find a better way to help your staff execute and survive the season.
What's the role of the associate in modern retail? I mean, it's changed. Right. You've got consumers walking in very well informed. You've got them half the time, if not more, just staring at their phones. Absolutely. Hard to engage with. What's your advice about the role of the associate?
Yeah,
today?
and this is where we spend a lot of time taking a look at it. And I have a lot of empathy for what's going on out there when it comes to taking a look at the sales associates, because customers are smarter. You talked about that. They're also more demanding because they're getting a better experience everywhere. They can get what they want, how they want. If they want it, from their couch delivered the next day, or sometimes the same day, they can get that. If they want it inexpensive, they can get that. If they want high touch, they can get it. And so now all of a sudden, when they finally land in your store, the customer's expectation level is way up high, but also their knowledge level is. So now the pressure falls on the staff to perform at a higher level. I mean, one, you've got to be a brand ambassador. You really do need to know the product that you're selling. There's no cheating that anymore. You used to be able to cheat it a little bit. You can't cheat it.
As you look together with the customer of the label and kind of read the features and benefits of the package.
We call that the good old days. So now you actually have to live it and breathe it. But also, your service skills, your sales skills, and your desire to put yourself out there, that's got to improve. There's a lot of people smarter than me that talk about into the future. We're going to have a lot fewer sales associates working on the floor. We're still going to have them for sure, but the ones we're going to have are going to be amazing. So picture when you're out shopping.
Yeah.
You run into those people that are pretty damn amazing at what they do. Yeah. They love it. Like it's not just a job for them. It's kind of their passion. Those are the people that we're going to see. And so when we take a look at what's the role, if I was to really break it down, so if I go, wait a minute, we can't change the talent level that we've got. We're not about to suddenly give them a whole bunch of new skills overnight, a whole bunch of new product knowledge.
Here's another binder to read this morning.
Right. Simple things. One, move a little bit faster at this time of year. There's more customers in your store that you're ever going to be able to get to wait on. Yeah. Don't get so locked in with one long sale that you forget about everybody else. So you got to move a little bit faster. You have to work with a greater sense of urgency. It's like get up and go. We've got 6 weeks. That's it. At this stage of the game, we have a lot to accomplish in that 6 weeks. So from the time you get there to the time you leave, and this is an energy drain for them, you got to work with energy. And then the last thing I tell people is, stop acting like a vending machine. When the customer comes in and they're looking for an item, great, terrific, find it for them, get it for them. But if you're not exploring with them a whole bunch of other range of possible add-ons at this time of the year, you're not really adding a lot of value other than just being helpful at that stage of the game. And we always talk to people, think about the different things. Think about when you're out shopping.
Yeah.
I'm thinking you have more than one friend, Michael.
Maybe. Depends on the day. I have one spouse anyway.
There you go. Right. So what I always go, okay, so they bought the one item. Ask them how their Christmas shopping's going. Who else do you still have to buy for?
Right.
It opens a possible door. Ask them about their entertaining needs. Most people, if you take a look at the studies that have come out about where people are going to spend their money, a huge
number one
portion
category for
is being spent on entertaining. So they're going to people's houses for dinner, or they're going out to an event, or they're having people over. All of those things necessitate, or possibly necessitate, added purchases that you might be able to help them with in the store. And if you just start thinking through the list of things that you could possibly add on, you think about the difference in the success of a merchant. If we sold one extra item to every customer, it would just blow the doors off the place. It's not going to happen. But if we just paid attention to it.
One more item in the basket.
That's it.
What you're highlighting is really interesting because we often talk about how important it is to out Amazon. And what online is terrible at is inspiration,
absolutely,
upselling, cross-selling. They've tried for 20 years as an industry to how to upsell and cross-sell.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing that, that's really where I think modern retail is going to bifurcate the in-store experience, as you said, as a sophisticated associate who's asking, so are all your entertaining needs taken care of? How can I help you? Here's some suggestions.
Absolutely.
Which you just can't replicate online.
And you think about this.
Or it's hard to replicate
all
online.
This talk about, everything's all online. Go to a mall and tell me how busy the malls are. They're packed. The parking lots are packed. People want to go to a store, right? And take a look at the millennials lining up for stuff. Go over to Italy's on stage today. Take a look at the people in the lineup over there. Yeah. There's as many millennials in lineup as there are boomers in the lineup and Xers. People want to go to the store, but the experience that we provide through the staff, that's the area of focus, because product is product and price is price. So I can get your products in your store online. I can get your prices online, maybe even a little better online. Certainly it's more convenient for me to buy it online. So what's left? It's the experience that you're going to give me in the store. Okay, the music's great. The in-store design is great, but the biggest variable of the experience is going to come down to the staff, how engaged they are with the customer out there. And you know this because you see this yourself when you're out there. Yeah. It's such an amazing experience when you talk to somebody in a store. They don't have to be the greatest salesperson in the world, but they just have to care, and they're happy and they're trying to make you feel a little bit better and they're trying to be helpful. That's all you really want.
Well, you've put on a masterclass for us about tips. I was going to ask you what are your top tips for retailers as they head into the season, but I think you've ticked a lot of boxes, right? It's execute, simple, be straightforward, you don't have a lot of time for fuss, and then just ask that question. Be curious, I guess, is one of the key elements to look for. And I guess looking forward to 2020 as you think about hiring associates, curiosity's got to be a big factor and these things. So I guess my last question, or second last question, is what to look for in 2020 as you start to think forward in an associate? Is it this curiosity? Is this all those things?
In some respects, I don't think it's really changed over the years. The thing that I want more than anything else that I'm interviewing for is attitude, more than skill. The skill we can teach them. The product knowledge I can teach them. Yeah. Give me the right personality. Give me the right attitude. Maybe it's a curiosity thing. Maybe it's the passion thing. Maybe it's wanting to be on a team. Maybe it's wanting to do the right thing by the customer, to be in service of. Those are the things you look for. And there's so much that goes in. We could talk for hours, right? We could say, well, what would happen to your recruiting if you got your turnover rate down by 50%? If you only had to hire half as many people next year, how picky could you be? Yeah. When it comes to that, and so it's a bit of a wide area, but that's that. Let me circle back to the one thing that I want everybody that's listening to this from a head office, from a district manager perspective, store manager perspective, appreciation. If over the next 6 weeks you can actually create an environment, a culture of appreciation for what your people are doing in the stores, it's going to carry you a long way. They're busting their butts. They do way more right than they're doing wrong out there. We can all walk into a store and find all sorts of things that aren't going right, and we're not going to hit this number and that number.
Yeah, you pick it apart.
But you know what? Yeah. You need these people now more than you've ever needed them. Let them know you appreciate them. Give them more recognition along the way. Show up with some donuts, show up with some pizza. Get all those people from head office out of their office and out into the stores.
No cash registers in head office.
Just shaking hands and kissing babies and bringing pizza and helping out and bagging for a little while. They'll get an appreciation for what goes on. Right. But more importantly than that, they'll actually be able to get out there and be the face of the organization, and maybe a little bit of thank yous along the way would go a very long way.
Well, it's fantastic. Listen, last question. How do people get in touch with you or want to learn more about Graff Retail? Well, the easiest thing to do, go to our website, graffretail.com. Give me a call. I give people my cell phone number all the time, 416-846-5686. Those are the two best ways to do it. All my email and that's on the website. So pretty easy to find. Well, thanks for spending time with the Voice of Retail. Thanks for being our MC today. You're double dutying today. You've got the Brick and Mortar Forum and then this afternoon the Retail Cannabis Forum. So thanks again for all your support of retailers and Retail Council of Canada. Hey, and listen, thank you and congratulations to you with what you're doing with the Voice of Retail podcast. It's fabulous. Industry needs it, so keep up the good work. Alan, welcome to the Voice of Retail. How are you doing today? I'm good, thanks, Michael. Well, we're just sitting down after listening to Kevin McNabb from Home Hardware, and I thought many things were similar and made me think of the organization and things that you've been focusing on in terms of personalization, scale, content, data. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's start. Tell us a little bit about you and your professional journey and what you do today. Yeah, happy to, Michael. So I'm I'm an engineer, and I have an additional degree in computer science. And I really kind of thought I wanted to be this tech guy. And I started doing that and realized I actually don't want to do that. And it's funny to be in an organization that's now helping retailers because I actually started a career in sales, if you will, with Harry Rosen. Oh, fantastic. I was on the floor helping to sell clothes and that kind of stuff, and probably cut my teeth in sales that way. But, technology was always something I was interested in. So that's where I went to school, and then I kind of got involved in a lot of
mission critical communications as an engineer. I did a lot of 911 work and some air traffic control things, and that sort of led me more into understanding payment networks and transactions, because as you can probably imagine, there's a lot of requirements for a 911 network to work, but major credit card companies also don't really like their transaction networks to go down either. So that was a little bit of the tie that was there, and as we started understanding more about data and more about how people want to shop, some of the background that I had, that led us to starting Omnovos, which is where I am today.
And so based in Ottawa, right?
Yeah.
And you've got a deep pedigree in just a tremendous volume of transactions, as you're kind of alluding to, right? That kind of flawless execution at scale of transactions. Is that a good summary of the kind of the pedigree or background of the organization?
Yeah, it is. Omnovos comes as a spin-off from a 40-year-old company. Omnovos is already about 5 years old, but we've been handling the data for some of the largest financial transactions and financial companies in the world. And that's really what sort of led us to beginning to understand of where else could we go. Banks are very good at having data be in different silos and that kind of thing. When you use an online portal for your banking, and you might see your checking account and your mortgage balance or that sort of thing. That data tends to be in different silos. So we help the banks actually connect those pieces of data together, and that led us to then sort of understanding data for retailers. Presented an opportunity to us where we could take those skills that we had with handling large volumes of data and understanding how to find data that you need to make an inference. So as sometimes we like to say, when you need to make data out of data, banks are also very good at doing that. And we very much recognize that was where retail was going. As you talk about things like personalization or loyalty or segmentation, it's actually all about getting data from data. So we think we're very well positioned to come and play in this market, and so far we've had a lot of fun.
What's you spend a lot of time with C-level executives trying to understand at the retail level what they're looking for, right? Yep. And so to speak, what was the white space that essentially created Omnovos, and then what you look to address? So what are you hearing when you're in these meetings? I mean, we just heard Kevin McNabb from Homer talking about he's got this inherent ability with 1,000 dealers who are in their community. I love the story about the dealer that had the order online for the toilet and just say, I know that guy, I'm just going to deliver. Well, not all retailers have the luxury of knowing each customer by name. What are you hearing around how retailers are going to just get their heads around that? Everybody says personalization, right? I hear that. If I had a dime every time I heard that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But what does it mean to you, and what are you hearing from them in terms of, listen, how do I get from where I am today to where I need to be?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I definitely hear the personalization thing a lot. Interestingly enough, I hear a lot of retailers be worried about their data. And it's not uncommon for a retailer's CRM, the system that you might use that holds information about your customers, for it just to be first name, last name, and an email address. So, if you've got patsmith@gmail.com, is Pat a male, a female? You don't even necessarily know. If you're developing a program around changing that data or upgrading that data, as we sometimes say, if you recognize that you got crappy data, stop worrying about how to make your crappy data good data. Just begin to recognize that it's time to start. It's time to change things for tomorrow. Make the leap. Develop new methods within your journey to get the proper data that you have. So we spend a lot of time actually talking to retailers about how you can actually do that, and what would be involved, and how you connect with millennials and get information that's out of them. Millennials are actually very good at giving you information. In Kevin McNabb's talk that was there was mention of this kind of a 2 times 70% thing, which I sort of really liked, about how 70% of the millennials that are out there who do buy online actually prefer to pick up in store. And then out of those that come in, 70% actually still want an experience. So if you just stop and think about that for a little bit, it gives you then an opportunity to really collect that data. They're willing to do that. If you give them that experience and you give them that reason to come in the store, they will give you information about themselves.
And I've heard that said that customers now really realize they have three types of currency to offer retailers. Money, of course, they have their treasure, so to speak. They have their time, but then they have their information, right?
Absolutely.
And I like what you're saying about millennials, because I think future generations are very aware that what you know about them has value, and there needs to be some kind of value exchange.
Exactly.
Because I think, I was reading some background material, and really you said some insightful things about loyalty not being about points or trading. Talk about that. Like, so you go into a retailer and you say, listen, let's help understand what you have, and let's understand that maybe what you have, let's not work on what you've got to make better. Let's kind of start all over again and figure out how we do data capture, and that makes sense. And then how do we improve loyalty to the business? So how do you think about that loyalty not just being
That's a great question. I'm not sure in this day and age, the classic sort of air miles approach to loyalty of I've spent so many dollars with you, so therefore I've got so many points, which means I can, redeem so many dollars worth of stuff, is really what people want. They want that experiential loyalty. They, in exchange for that, value, and I love the way you talked about money, time, and my information. So in exchange for that information about me, show me that you know me, show me that you love me. So if you're someone like Home Hardware, invite me to a very special session on how do I plumb a toilet. Show me that you understand some of the things that are there. Make it special for me to come in. And that's where you start to get a little bit of those brand fanatics come about when people can tweet or talk about things that they did, that fear of missing out thing that we hear a lot. If your loyalty program can actually start to play on that and make that happen, that's a good thing. The problem, though, that exists with that is if you're someone like Home Hardware that has over 1,000 stores across Canada who probably have 10,000 customers at least for that. So suddenly you're into millions of customers. How do you find the right experience for the right customer, or if you want to architect the experience that you want to give? How do you figure out who to give that to? Software is obviously a pretty good way to do that. So naturally, that's an area where we play and where we think things are different. There are retailers that are out there too that have kind of outsourced their loyalty program to other companies that kind of provide those services. And as you just said, money, time, and information. Don't you dare give away that information anymore. That data about your customers and getting to know them and understand them and do that personalization and that sort of stuff. That data is gold. It's one of the top 3 things that you have. You have to be managing your own loyalty program in this day and age, and you have to start figuring out how that data that you're going to have about those customers can be used to your advantage, not someone else's.
And as you said before, off mic, you're talking about how segmentation is not personalization.
Right.
So when you go in to see a retailer, walk me through what you say. This is what I'm going to do for you. This is what makes Omnovos unique. Because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to talk about I'll help with your data. I mean, it's a very easy word to say, but it's hard to do.
Right.
So you've got a deep pedigree and experience in handling volumes of data. But walk me through exactly what you say. Here's what makes me different, and here's what I'm going to help you do.
I make no bones about the fact that Omnovos is not a billion-dollar company. And it might be sort of weird to hear a CEO say this. I I have no desire to make Omnovos a multi-billion-dollar company. I care about retail. Retail started my career. I want retailers to be successful. So you get me. You get my executive team. You get my people that are in my company that share that. If you're someone that's maybe working with some of those multi-billion-dollar companies, I dare you to get a meeting with their CEO, and I dare you to
at least twice.
At least twice.
Well, maybe once, but twice is the hard one.
And I dare you to ask them to change some of their development priorities to do something that's special for you that you need. We get where you're going. We understand that it's a challenge. We want to work with you, and as I said, you'll meet with my team. You have an opportunity to meet with me. I think that's definitely something that's really different. A lot of the other companies that are probably out there, too, that are in this space, by definition, it's new, right? We feel we're kind of in a little bit of a unique situation in that we've been doing data analysis
40 years,
for
right?
40 years.
I mean, you're like that rock band that's the 10-year overnight success, right? It's like, we're here. I mean, you've got that. So you've got the kind of, let's call it bespoke or boutique approach, which is you're going to talk to the people who, the sales team isn't the sales team. The sales team is your team, who's going to be in front of you. And where do you start in these engagements? Where you do some analysis, you do some just where are you today and where do you want to be? And what are you hearing from retailers who said, listen, here's why I need someone like you, whether it's you or not, they'll make that decision. But what is it that you're going to say, I'm going to take you from here to there? What's your point of arrival that you'd like them to have in mind?
We help them start with mobile. That's always a place where people get confused and need sort of a little bit of understanding about how to inject that. Something happened about 5 years ago, I would say, when we first started doing this. There was a big anti-sentiment around developing your own mobile application. And I think I understand why. A lot of other mobile applications that are out there are simply a mobile version of your e-commerce website. Amazon, arguably the biggest digital retailer that's out there today, does exactly this. They've got an app that is simply a digital version of their e-commerce website. We usually start people by helping them to understand that, millennials actually do want to shop with their phone. And what that means is they want to actually be in your store and they want to understand your products a little bit more. They want to understand a little bit more information about things. Maybe, that's after they get that, then they want to ask a question. Millennials and Gen Zs don't really like when a classic clerk comes up to them and says, "Hi, how you doing? What are you looking for?" Leave me alone. Let me do that with my phone. So in a lot of cases, we start people by letting them understand how you integrate a mobile strategy into your site, and kind of don't make your mobile strategy simply an e-commerce extension of your website. Make it part of the journey. Make it, one of the key reasons why you want to go in the store. I loved what Kevin McNabb said, because I feel like I've said this a million times myself, of e-commerce needs to support your brick and mortar business, not the other way around. We sometimes need to help retailers understand too that that is maybe how you're going to beat the Amazons of the world. You've got wonderful in-depth knowledge about your products. You've got an in-store experience, which, any of the retail analysts that are out there and profits will tell you. People want to deal with people, and they want to go into a store and have an experience.
Well, it's that customer-focused disintegration of the channels, right? It's they want, as we as customers, right? We're both customers in retail. We want to walk in, and sometimes I want to be on my phone and I need help when I get it and just know that it's there. And other times I want to have a more engaging Instagrammable experiences, all those kind of things, right?
Right.
So start on the mobile journey, very important, particularly, now for all of us, right? Last kind of question. So when you think about what's ahead for retail and how you kind of intersect with that. Where do you see those two things heading? And you've already talked, I think you and I would definitely violently agree that data and content and personalization is where retail is going. Is that where you see this intersection point?
Absolutely. We're maybe a year or two away now from 5G hitting the airwaves. So our phones are going to have access to bandwidth like we've never really seen or experienced before. I truly believe that things that will really get 5G going is actually the retail space, because you will be able to be using your phone and have access to video, and it will be instantaneous. Things around augmented reality or finding ways of actually interacting that are almost more immersive, like in the sense of the way a video game is, will become part of the realities that we will have. So I see that happening, and I see that being well before I retire too. Right. That those kinds of things will come into place.
So mobile first, powered by 5G. I think it's one of the key digital transformations in the world, and certainly in retail.
Yeah. Right. And then from there, now that you kind of understand your journey that you want, the experience that you need, you've started to put mobile a little bit more into that strategy. Now let's talk about the data. What are you trying to capture, right? What do you need to learn about your customers, and how are you going to do that?
Back to the pedigree of the organization. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And don't forget, this has never not happened in my career around data. Once you get the bug around data and learning stuff, the questions that you want to ask today will very likely not be the questions that you want to ask tomorrow. Right.
It's like a flywheel effect for data, right? The one question leads to 5, leads to 10, which is a good thing. Good thing for you, good thing for the retailer, because I think it opens up their minds to the possible, right, with great partners like yourself.
Yeah, I believe that, and make sure then that you got the flexibility that's there from day one. I'm happy to share the experiences that I've had with the retailers that I've spoke with around the globe. It's also something that I think Omnovos brings to the table. If we don't hold information like that close to our chests. As I said, we're in this. We want to see digital succeed. From the vendor's perspective of someone supplying digital, as much as a retailer wants their digital strategy to succeed. So
lots of best practice, lots of global experience to yield. How do retailers that want to get a hold of you learn more about Omnovos, get a sampling of that kind of global experience? How do they get a hold of you?
Naturally, the website is a great place to start.
Omnovos.com. Okay.
And we've got a ton of information that's there. I wouldn't be a good guy around personalization if I didn't talk about how to personally find me too. Right on. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. If you need to make a connection, that's always a great way to do that too.
Well, great. Well, listen, thanks for spending time on the Voice of Retail. It's great insight. I've spent a lot of time in the CRM space, so it's really great to see it evolve and have great vendors to kind of fill that ecosystem to help make the dream and the point of arrival start to happen. So thanks again for spending time with us.
My pleasure, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Thanks to Manny, Kevin, and Alan for being my guests in this episode. Now let's hit the highlights from retail this week. Jumping off our great article in National Post from Jake Edmonston talking about Canada Goose new store at Sherway. Oh, by the way, stay tuned for I turn the mic around, so to speak, or the pencil, or the pen, or the keyboard around on Jake and interview him and get his observations 1 year in plus a few days on reporting on the crazy retail scene. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, back to the article. Canada Goose has launched an experience store at Sherway. And, we often talk about experience stores, and you might be saying, well, I know there's the Cold Room, and Canada Goose has done other experience stores, but this one is quite unique in as much as there is no product in the store. It is all about experience and all about orientation of the brand. So lots of interesting things going on here. There's, like I said, great article in a National Post, and lots of things to experience if you happen to be close by. It's pretty neat. Next up, Loblaw is building new meal solutions to grapple with Canadians' changing habits. This from The Logic. They are staffing up a new meal solutions division, just trying to get their heads around how to best serve that customer. And what else? Giant Tiger back in the news. They got a new team, Cindy Lynn Steele, SVP Strategy and Marketing, and they've got a new commercial that they're rolling out for the holidays, extra social focus for the holidays. Interesting, I included the story, 12 people arrested for gluing hands to store windows for Black Friday protest. And then in Quebec City, about 100 activists protest on Friday afternoon. So it's just something to track, as Black Friday is in the rearview mirror. Not everyone collectively is happy with it, so there's some folks who want to take the opportunities. Probably no surprise given the prominence of retail and the importance of retail in our lives and community, that it would attract people interested in making a statement. So just something to keep an eye on. Speaking of keeping my eye on, get out of my spot. Toronto malls try bold ploys to address holiday parking. I was actually interviewed for this one in the Toronto Star. And I love these kind of articles just because it's such one of those touch points, one of those friction points that is just so pragmatic in the customer journey. You could spend hours in the shopping center, have the best day of your life in a retail store, and then get out to the mall and it can be completely ruined. Or maybe you just don't go to the mall because you're afraid you won't even find a spot. So it's a great article. Just talks about what retailers like Yorkdale and Square One are doing to address that. Yorkdale's got know before you go. You can go online. You can, when you get there, you can see the number count. You can see a space count. You can see all kinds of interesting things. Valet service. All kinds of things. And by the way, Claire Santamaria, the vice president of Yorkdale, will be on the podcast coming up soon. We taped an interview just after Kevin Graff, actually, at the Retail Bricks and Mortar Forum, where she was on a panel. Very insightful. So such a treat to have Claire on the podcast. Retail around the world. Well, of course, I guess we should start off with Black Friday. I haven't talked much about Black Friday. Not much to say, really, at this point in Canada. We don't really have much in the way of results yet, but we should in the days and weeks to come. In the United States, NRF released numbers and by the way, these numbers aren't like a transactional data numbers. They're numbers from a panel, like a post panel, talking to people. What did you do over the holiday season? 190 million people shopped Thanksgiving weekend. That's up 14% the same period a year ago. And on average, they spent $361.90, up 16%. So roaring start, really, to Black Friday in the U.S. Speaking of a roaring start, I don't know if that's not really a great segue, but guess how many packages disappear in New York City on a daily basis? So for context, according to the New York Times, 1.5 million package deliveries a day in Manhattan, 90,000 of which disappear daily. 15% of all deliveries, they say, in urban areas fail to reach customers in the first attempt because of package theft and other issues like delivery to the wrong house. So it's just a fascinating article. So check that out. That from the New York Times. The holiday start off to a solid start. Just talking about Black Friday in the U.S. from CNBC. From a site called the MDS, talks about Patagonia, which is such a leader in ethics-based, talk about in that same kind of area, not quite the same as Matt Nat, but certainly very stick to my ethics. Patagonia is taking sustainability even further, opens a second-hand store, so that's so interesting. So keep an eye on that. We know that the second-hand market is big and getting bigger. Some estimate it's going to be bigger or as big as fast fashion in 10 years. We'll see how that rolls out. Article from Fashionista, can department stores avoid the same fate as Barney's and by courting Gen Z? This is a really good article, actually. So be sure and click through on the email, Retail This Week, or it'll be on my my LinkedIn. So, it quotes a number of experts, including Doug Stevens, who talks about how, you really have to be either thought of as the most efficient or the most experiential. And for Gen Z, so important. To be that if you want to be a successful department store. So it's a really good article, actually. Locally for indies, Summerhill Market opens up in Toronto, new annex location up in Canadian Grocer. Our friends at Linen Chest
are opening their newest store in Newmarket, Upper Canada Mall. I think that's from quote here, some Sheldon Liebner, great CEO. We ran across Sheldon actually at our Flyer Forum, based in Montreal, and I think this brings them to 12 stores. So great to see them opening up in Upper Canada Mall in early December. From Edmonton Sun, Second Specs disrupts the eyeglass business and is expanding. What else have we got? 3D printing footwear opens the first space. That from Craig Patterson's Retail Insider. That's an interesting concept. So do check that article out. In Spotlight and Supply Chain Digital Retail, we've got an overview article from Canadian Retail Magazine, Surviving and Succeeding Amid a Perfect Retail Storm. So with Willie Crew from KPMG, his last big forum, at least with us anyway, and with KPMG, we brought together 15 executives and had a wide-ranging conversation. Do check this out. I mean, this is at least three really great articles this week. So there's tons of stuff going on, of course, in retail, but I try to sort through and just find the best. These three stand out in my mind. So Jake's article from and about Canada Goose, the article around the package thefts in New York City in this article, which is a great, hits the highlights, interviews from retail leaders. So be sure and check that out. Let's see what else. French sporting goods behemoth Decathlon expanding in-store tech. That from Retail Insider. Decathlon itself expanding rapidly in Canada. So that would be interesting to see how they expand and how that goes any further. Well, that's a wrap on this edition of The Voice of Retail. If you like this podcast, you can subscribe on Apple iTunes, your favorite podcast platform. Please rate and review and be sure to recommend to a friend or colleague in the retail industry. I'm Michael LeBlanc, founder and president of Emmy LeBlanc Company, Inc. You can learn more about me on www.emmyleblanc.co or, of course, on LinkedIn. Until next time, have a great week.